we're going to go over the jerk technique. Good. After the clean, Anthony's going to move his feet in underneath his hips and set his posture from there. He's also going to readjust his hands from the clean. His hands should move out slightly to be wider than his shoulders, and his feet should end up just under his hips. From this position, he's now going to set his hips in position properly. He wants his hips to be slightly backward with the weight of his body and the barbell centered over the middle of his foot. This allows him to descend properly in the dip, to descend completely straight and allow the bar to move straight over his head. From here, once his hips are set, his chest is going to be pushed up and out. The shoulders are going to support the barbell on his chest, and his elbows are going to remain slightly down, slightly forward, and slightly outward. From here, he'll start the dip from the middle of his foot, keeping his hips back, keeping the pressure on his quadriceps, and then driving from this position. Once Anthony's hit the bottom of the dip phase, he's going to drive. This is the drive phase of the jerk. From here, he's going to drive forcefully through his midfoot, through his quadriceps and hips, accelerating the bar over his head. His legs move the barbell, his arms move his body underneath the barbell. From here, he drives his legs before he begins to press against the bar with his arms. The split position, Anthony's front foot needs to be about 1/3 of the distance in front of him, his back foot about 2/3 of the distance behind. His body weight is going to be distributed evenly, slightly forward. His hips need to be rigid and high, supporting his torso and upper body, holding the barbell overhead. The position of his arms are such that the bar is behind his head, his arm is internally rotated, his hands are bent back and internally rotated. This prevents the bar from being in front of his body. The recovery phase of the jerk, he's going to bring his front foot back, pushing up on the barbell the entire time, bring his feet directly under the bar at the end. Common mistakes in the jerk, not bringing your feet back underneath you to assume the proper start position. This can cause you to drive the bar forward and cause your hips to slide forward too far in the bottom of the dip and mess up the trajectory of the bar. The next issue is assuming the proper balance of the foot in the start position for the jerk. If the weight is too far forward, bar is going to be driven forward, the lift will be unsuccessful. If the weight is too far back into the heel, which is a very common error, the bar is going to be driven forward again because at the bottom of the dip, his hips are going to slide too far forward, forcing the bar out in front. The next common mistake is having the hips set too far underneath the torso. This is related to having the weight too far back on the heel. The athlete puts their hips too far under their body. The hips are underneath the body. The athlete is trying to keep their hips under the body and their weight on their heel to force the bar into a straight bar path. The problem with this is that, again, the bar is going to travel forward because the hips and body will move forward in the bottom of the dip. The next common error is dipping too low or too shallow. If the athlete tries to dip too low, they end up negating any explosive power they would have in the dip. If the dip is too long, the athlete ends up generally ending up with the bar too short over their head. They don't make the correct distance overhead. The bar is generally pressed out at this point. If the dip is too shallow, the lifter may not be explosive enough to accommodate for this, and the bar may not get high enough again, forcing the athlete to use their arms too much. Another common error in the jerk is the mistiming of the use of the arms. Trying to press on the bar with the arms too early in the drive phase. The lifter descends into a dip, starts to drive, but then starts to incorporate the arms too early. This forces the bar to slow down, forces the lifter to plant their feet closer in the split, and ends up ultimately in a press out.